While the incoming Trump administration plans the largest deportation operation in United States history, Nazis are marching through the streets of our cities. This isn't new. We've seen this before. America is a deeply racist country founded upon the pseudo principle of white supremacy. And we forget this a lot, but during the Jim Crow era and specifically during World War II, the American South was a closed fascist state. So again, there's nothing new here except we shouldn't be going backwards. The number of events organized or attended by white supremacists in the United States hit a new high last year at 282, which was reported by the Anti Defamation League. Marches and public gatherings of white nationalists or people flying Nazi flags have unfolded in recent years in places like Nashville, New Hampshire, Boston, Arkansas, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Michigan. This is not a phenomenon relegated to red states in the South. In fact, this past Saturday, there was a Nazi march in downtown Columbus, Ohio. Let's look at this clip.
This morning, new surveillance footage of an armed group of men carrying flags emblazoned with swastikas marching through the streets of Columbus, Ohio. The troubling incident happening Saturday afternoon. Each person dressed head to toe in all black, masks concealing their faces. They shouted vile and racist speech against Jews and people of color. Hate crimes have been on the rise for the past several years, according to data from the FBI. The Anti-Defamation League also notes a stunning increase in acts of anti-Semitism, with incidents doubling last year compared to 2022.
We asked both President Biden and President-elect Trump about the Ohio incident. Biden responded denouncing the incident. We're waiting a response from Trump.
Well, what's Donald going to say? Yeah, those are my foot soldiers, and they're doing exactly what I'm asking them to do. Subtly. Before I continue, I just want to ask really quickly if you could please like the video and subscribe to our channel. It's free. It just helps us spread the word and continue to bring you news with facts and without bias. Thanks. It shouldn't surprise us that these cowards are wearing masks, but again, racist groups are being emboldened across the country. This happened back in 2017 when the first Trump administration came into office. From 2017 to 2019, 100% of the federal government supported and was aligned with hate groups. And here we are again in the same situation. So it should not surprise us that these are not isolated incidents. It also shouldn't surprise us that the hate groups are on the rise in conjunction with Donald Trump's own rise. In July of 2024, there was a hate march through the streets of Nashville, Tennessee. Watch this.
The sounds of hate making noise in Music City. Experts say these people are members of the white nationalist group Patriot Front, founded in 2017 after breaking off from the group that led the deadly Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Not only are the number of groups increasing, but also their activity. In 2023, the Anti-Defamation League recorded close to 350 incidents involving hate and anti-government groups in Tennessee, more than double the number of incidents from the year before. The SPLC says they're one of 37 hate and anti-government groups recorded in the state in 2023, 4 more than the year before.
The increase of white nationalist groups in the United States is driven primarily by their own perception that they're driving GOP policy.
When the leader of the free world supports your despicable, racist, white nationalist, white supremacist cause by saying that they should stand back and stand by, it's inevitable that we would find ourselves here. But for context, look at this clip from 2016.
America was built by and for the white Christian people of this nation.
We support those nationalist principles like closing the borders.
Donald Trump wants to bring back jobs to America, give dignity to the American worker.
It's not that Trump is telling these groups what to think. They have, had their own white supremacist ideology for many decades now. What Trump is doing is legitimizing.
Yes, that's exactly the problem. He's legitimizing them. He's empowering them. And thanks to a small plurality of American voters. Again, the entirety of the federal government backs them and represents them. So things seem to be getting worse recently, likely as a result of the election results. Last week, a group of masked men showed up waving swastika flags and shouting anti Semitic and racist slurs outside of a community theater performance of The Diary of Anne Frank at an American Legion in Howell, Michigan. Um, just so we're clear, Anne Frank was a child who had to hide in an attic with her family during World War II. They were betrayed by a neighbor, and every single person, including Anne Frank, in her family, except for her father, was murdered at Auschwitz, a Nazi concentration camp. Alex Sutcliffe, who filmed the encounter, said the group, quote, all stuck their hands up and chanted, Heil Hitler, Heil Trump. Watch this.
Fowlerville Community Theater says some of their cast felt shaken after a group of self-proclaimed Nazi protesters demonstrated outside a recent performance of The Diary of Anne Frank. Theater staff say it happened Saturday night at the American Legion Post 141 in Livingston County. According to a news release, their production team became aware of the disturbance and consulted with the American Legion staff. They were told that the protesters were moved off their property.
Speaking of Anne Frank, Donald's choice for border czar, Tom Homan, recently gave a warning to government officials who might harbor illegal immigrants from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers, which is chilling. Check out this clip.
Title 8, United States Code 1324, III. Read about that and don't cross that line because it is a felony to harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE. Read the statute, don't cross that line.
That's a warning from Tom Homan right there.
Wow. Yeah, Tom Homan. It's hard, it's really hard to say who is the worst, but just in terms of pure thuggishness and racism and just blatantly despicable and deviant behavior, Tom Homan is at the top of the list. And let's be clear, none of this is empty rhetoric. The incoming administration is hard at work getting ready to implement its mass deportation policy. Look at this.
This morning, President-elect Donald Trump is preparing to follow through on his promise of mass deportations.
We're already working on the plan.
Sources tell ABC News the Trump team is already considering expanding immigration detention centers and restarting family detentions. The president-elect saying he has plans to declare a national emergency and use the military to help deport undocumented immigrants. Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, says he's heading down to Mar-a-Lago this week to put the, quote, final touches on a plan that he has said will amount to shock and awe.
Well, the real national emergency will be when all of our food is left rotting in the fields because Donald and his, Nazi enablers are rounding up the people who do the real work in this country. So in order to accommodate what Donald calls the largest deportation operation in American history, cities with large population of migrants, including Denver, Los Angeles, Miami, and Chicago, could need additional detention sites built nearby to hold migrants arrested there. The administration might also need to reopen, expand, or build new facilities in the Northeast, to hold migrants arrested around New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, which, by the way, is probably not how most of us want our hard-earned tax dollars spent. Texas, of course, that the leading edge of the fascist movement in this country, is ready to lend a hand. Texas Land Commissioner Dawn Buckingham is offering the incoming administration over 1,400 acres of land along the Texas-Mexico border to be used in the mass deportation operation. Thankfully, there are large cities like Los Angeles taking a different approach. The city council just adopted a quote-unquote sanctuary city ordinance to limit cooperation with federal immigration officials. Let's take a look.
Okay, it is passed.
The LA City Council voting unanimously to formally make the city a sanctuary for migrants. The adopted legislation prohibits city resources like the police department from helping with the federal enforcement of immigration laws. The vote comes 2 weeks after Donald Trump was elected to a second term as president. He's already promised mass deportation.
We're finally getting around to wondering how much all of this is going to cost, if only that it happened before the election, when corporate media was obsessed with how much Kamala Harris's plan to expand Medicaid to provide long-term home health care for seniors would cost, but didn't bother to ask Donald about the cost of this absolutely cruel and devastating move that will cripple the American economy. Here is the incoming border czar explaining what he's going to need.
There are many unanswered questions about Trump's plan, including how much it will cost.
We got to have the resources to do the job. So I've been asked 1,000 times, how many people can you remove the first year? Well, how many agents do I have? How many buses do I have? How much money do I have for airplanes, right? Can DOD assist? Because DOD can take off our plate. So there's a lot of what ifs.
According to some experts, mass deportation could cost an estimated $88 billion a year and send inflation spiking as millions of workers are removed from the workforce.
But at least they're hurting the right people, right? Donald's plan to declare a national emergency has nothing to do with whether or not there is one. There's not. It's so that he can bring in the military to help proceed with the deportations. Here's a clip.
Declaring a state of emergency would allow Trump to tap into additional funding and resources needed to carry out a mass deportation program of this scale.
The Pentagon budget, that's where the money is. It's where the people are. It's where the aircraft are. And I don't see him doing this without significant involvement from the U.S. military.
If all of this racist talk of detention centers and mass deportations by the military seems reminiscent of the Nazis, that is not a conclusion I'm drawing, and it's not a connection you need to draw. Just listen to what Donald has to say.
You know, years ago, my father, I had a great father. He's a tough guy. He used to always say, never use the word Nazi, never use that word. And he'd say, never use the word Hitler. Don't use that word. It's like, I didn't even know why. Don't use that word. And then I understood it. And yet they use that word freely, both words. They use it, he's Hitler. And then they say, he's a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. I'm the opposite of a Nazi.
Yeah, that's not a great hill to die on, is it? And by the way, my grandfather was a sociopath, and when he said don't use the word Nazi or don't use the word Hitler, what was implied there is don't use those words positively. So listen, we know who we're dealing with here. We know what's going to happen because they're telling us it's going to happen. So for everybody who voted because their eggs were too expensive, just wait to see what's going to happen to the price of eggs and other foodstuffs when Donald and his brown shirts get in gear and start rounding up millions and millions of undocumented workers and anybody else who stands in their way. Hey, everybody. In case you weren't aware, I am spectacularly bad at self-promotion. So here it goes. Please subscribe to our channel and like and share our videos. Your support means so much to all of us. Thank you.